Hello. We are going live shortly, just getting everything
Hello.
together here. I see my co host, I see some familiar faces. And yes, what is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we are here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform in front of a virtual audience in this Pride Week. And in Pride Week, I'm talking about it's a Pride Month. However, it is also Pride Week for San Francisco, where I am in the Bay Area, as well as New York City, where my co-host currently is Kodi Maurice Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful. I'm so excited for Pride Week here in New York City and for you in San Francisco. It's just going to be amazing. It's going to be filled with joy and coming together as a community. I love it.
Absolutely. It's you can feel the spirit. I felt it right before I left in New York City. Even just some of the businesses that you see, I felt it at the airport of all places. There
Oh,
was a pride
love it.
flag at JFK, which, I like that little salute out there. That's really nice. My gym in New York, Crunch, shout out to Crunch, did a really extravagant balloon arrangement, wishing everyone happy Pride. Makes me feel good about working out there. And I can feel the buzz even over here in Oakland, where San Francisco Pride will be held this weekend. And it's just electrifying. So I
Yeah.
mentioned on episode 577 that I will be here and not in New York, but that my pride this year was celebrating that I have a new boyfriend. And boy, Kodi,
Oh,
when you put that out there, because I put that clip out there on social media earlier this morning, and
uh-huh.
I guess I forgot the power of social media and when I guess what a big deal it is to your friends when you maybe didn't. It's like putting a press release out to your friends that, I'm not talking
The
to
hard
every
launch.
friend. Yeah, and these are some good friends of mine, but they're not. I didn't, send out a mass email the minute my guy and I got together. So I just thought it was a fun thing. I really meant it, since I'm not really going to be celebrating parties or parades this particular year, mainly because my mom and my sister have consecutive birthdays,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to celebrate their birthdays. But I've been watching movies all month long and doing a lot of other prideful things. And this, having a boyfriend, I'm really celebrating. And so, but when you know it, Kodi, that the minute you put it out there, like everyone's like, "You have a boyfriend? Oh my God." A friend of mine, probably the best text I got today, a friend of mine that I used to work with and I've known her for years, texts me. We had just caught up earlier this week, I think on Monday, and we went over everything. She's got a lot going on in her life. She's building a house. She's got a little bit of drama. We were going over that. She was
Yeah.
really asking about my holiday in Europe. So by the time all that was like an hour, and I
Yeah.
had to go. We were doing
It's a
episode
long time.
577. So I got off the call and I did think about it later. It's like, oh shoot, I forgot to mention about my boyfriend. Like I just thought that would, but I'm like, oh well, it's fine. And then I put this social media out this morning, and when you know it, her straight husband is on social media and told
Uh-oh.
her, hey, Steve Rodriguez has a new boyfriend. His name is Steve too. And she's like, no, he doesn't. I just spoke to him on Monday. He's like,
Not
watch this. And she was like, please do not tell me I just heard from my straight husband that my gay boyfriend, me, has
yeah.
a boyfriend. And I was like, sorry, I meant to tell. I for totally spaced. And yeah, so we caught up, believe me, on earlier today, and I told her all the deets. So yeah.
Oh, good. That's so lovely. At least you got to kind of get out there, and she got to she didn't take it as offensively, and she really wanted to connect with you about it. So that's lovely. It's always good to have friends that do that. So since we're on the topic of your boyfriend, Zorley, so
Yes.
so we can get all of the information out there to everybody who needs to know, who needs to be in the know about this boyfriend. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Are you ready to be interrogated, Zorley?
Oh, okay. Let me take my glasses off for this since I'm not reading anything. And yes, okay, let's go.
So, where did you meet said boyfriend?
So I always say I don't do the apps and I'm never good at them. And this was true
Mhm.
in this particular case. I met him. If anyone knows me, I say I go to the New York Eagle ad nauseum. I'm sure you're all exhausted about hearing me go to the Eagle. We met at the New York Eagle. And what was interesting about it was he reminded me a little bit of me in terms of I know a lot of the bartenders there, but I have one in particular that I position myself at up on the second floor. Well, one day I was down on the first floor and I just was sidling up by this guy who really was my counterpart in terms of he hangs out on the first floor by his bartenders. And
Okay.
I found that really interesting. And we just really were sharing our stories on how we go. And he doesn't really walk around the bar a lot that much. He just kind of positions himself and observes a lot. And often I have done that on the second floor. And so our lives hadn't really crossed because we were on different floors. But speaking of
Oh my
parallel
gosh.
lives, like we were talking about on episode 577, finally they did. And we just got to talking. I found him really interesting on what he does, on the fact that he was kind of like my other Eagle counterpart, and one thing led to another, and then I was like, oh, and now I find him attractive. And
Oh.
yeah, but this was last summer, so it really wasn't, while we got together and had fun, it didn't like we didn't like spark into this, obviously, because it's only
Okay.
been like about maybe a month or so since we've called it a more official. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, what is your favorite thing to do with your boyfriend?
My favorite thing right now is something that I started to do before I met him. And I know like some of my friends are like, really? You didn't do this. But I did. He's a huge avid hiker. And I mean, like, he could compete. If there was a competition of hiking, he could compete. He hikes like really major hikes. He seeks them out. He's done a million hikes, very difficult hikes. He looks them up.
Mhm.
He drives to these places, and it was something that I had really gotten into before I met him. So going
Oh.
on hikes together is a lot of fun. From everything from when he picks me up to the road trip and the music that we play. I've introduced him to some of my style of dance music that he now likes a lot, BBC Radio 1. And he's gotten me
I was
into
gonna say
He's gotten me into drinking Red Bulls all over. I'm sugar free. He's not.
Okay.
And ultimately, when we get to the hikes, it's a lot of fun because he really is, I feel, a pro. And I feel like I'm always in good hands, but I'm doing these challenging, beautiful excursions that are with nature. And I mean, how cool is it to just be one with nature and with
Yeah.
the person that you are really connected with? It's kind of doesn't get better than that for me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You were telling me about this hike. I have been telling you that I wanted to go on a hike, but you were telling me that they are very challenging and they get very high, and I'm afraid of heights.
Yes.
So we're gonna do a nice flat hike with me.
He told me that we could find one for you. Absolutely.
Yay, fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah, yeah,
last
yeah.
question. What
Okay.
is your what is your favorite thing about your boyfriend?
Ooh, I
Yeah.
think he's a man of few words, but he's very positive in life, and he's just a doer, and he inspires me. I think is probably my favorite things about him is that super
I might
positive, and
need
he
a minute.
inspires me from what he does for his work as well as his personal life. He just kind of inspires me, and it's always positive, and I just think that's really cool.
That's so lovely. I'm
Yeah.
so excited for you. I
Oh,
love you
thank
guys,
you.
and yeah,
Thanks.
it's
Yeah, you've had
great.
a chance to meet him, so
Yes.
absolutely. Nice. Okay, well, we do have a show to get into. Thanks
Oh, yeah, I
to
forgot we're not just
everybody
talking
for
about your boyfriend.
indulging me. I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Too funny. Okay, well, we wanna shout out because, we wanna shout out to Billy Everett, who just became a sub-tier on our Patreon page, and we wanna thank Billy. Thank you so much for joining our exclusive community, which you can too, because we are in the middle of closing in on June 30th, the final days here of our special offer. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about when you join one of 2 tiers on our Patreon page, you get extra special perks. And what are those perks? Well, some of the perks are commercial free. Other perks are you get to join our weekly Discord chat where you can type in anything in there. We'll respond back. You can weigh in on hot topics. We'll respond back to that. You can ask us questions, and it's really fun to be a part of that. You can also join our monthly hangout where Kodi and I will be there just hanging out with you, talking about the topics at hand, personal stuff, whatever you want to talk about. And also, one of my favorites is you get an extra episode every month, extra hot topics. So when you do this, you join one of 2 tiers, our virgin or our sub tier, and it's supporting Tags podcast, but you're getting these special perks. And if you do it by June 30th, you will get access to our exclusive upcoming live stream hosted by Kodi and myself that will be different from our show because we're going to give even more insight into our personal lives. But Kodi's going to be singing new music, including his brand new single that was inspired by Tag's podcast called Talk About It, which is so good, plus some other new material and possibly some really cool covers. And we want you to weigh in on that. All you got to do is go to patreon.com/TAGSPodcast to get the exclusive offer by June 30th. It's open all the time, but we really would encourage you to do it by June 30th for Pride. Grab a tier. There's 2, the virgin or the sub tier, and we will shout your name out and you'll get these perks starting in July. And some of these perks are going to start coming down the pipeline, Kodi, that I'm really excited about, like the brand new episode that's new topics that you don't get on Tags podcast. And yeah, they're really good. And so this is going to be fun, and just keeping up with us is going to be a lot of fun. So patreon.com/Tags podcast. Happy Pride, everybody. Let's get into let's get into some hot topics, including let's start off with the bad news before we get into some good news, because it is the saddest.
I'm ready to go. I got my boxing gloves on.
There is a former news host on Newsmax, if you know anything about Newsmax, and also formerly on One American News Network. You may have heard of these because they're far-right news outlets, and Addison Smith was one of those, who's only 24, who decided that he would actually propose to his girlfriend Charisse Edwards.
He's only 24.
He's only 24.
That's some hard living.
Yeah, I saw his picture, and he proposed to Charisse Edwards, who's only 22. She's a senior booking producer for Lou Dobbs Tonight on One American News Network. Well, that's fine. Great. Good for them. They got engaged. However, how he went about the proposal is what shook up the community. I mean, our community in many ways. You'll know when I said, instead of just saying that I love you, Charisse Edwards, and I just got engaged, his first line on his Twitter account said, "Pride Month is so defeated," he crowed. And after he said, "I love you at Charisse Edwards," meaning by him getting engaged to his wife or his girlfriend, that he is now defeated Pride Month. Because there's this whole movement that just thinks, why do we get a whole month? And they're just this right agenda, and people were not here for it, because many people like Miss Betty Bowers at Betty Bowers said, "Your first thought when proposing to your wife is gay men. I predict this will be a pattern. Condolences to your wife," she said, which I thought was hilarious. Daddy Bones said, "Proposes to a woman while simultaneously thinking about gay people." It went on and on. Of course, he had to come back but I mean, when you heard this, why on earth, Kodi, do you just think it's the climate that we're in right now that just essentially says we've got to push the buttons. We can't even just have a moment to ourselves. He couldn't just enjoy his engagement, but he had to go to social media to just try and push our buttons, which ultimately looked like he put his foot in his mouth.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, this man. There's so much to say about him. But first, I want to say we get a whole month because we have been repressing ourselves for a huge portion of our lives. So Pride is the one time we can get to revel in being our authentic self. So that's why we get a whole month. If you did not live in your authenticity for your adolescence, then maybe you should get a Pride too. But you didn't, so here we are. So that's why we get a Pride. Secondly, this just screams of insecurity for me. So my first thought was, is this why straight men think about Rome so much because of butt sex? Because there was so much butt sex in Rome, and that's where my mind went at first. But this is beyond sad for me as far as he's concerned. A moment that is supposed to be between you and the one that you love, he made it about gay people. And that is a huge red flag, like everyone was saying on Twitter and in the comments. And I really feel bad for his wife because we as gay men do not want him.
Right.
But he's over here thinking about us and throwing insults at us. And I just don't understand where this is coming from. We're not even thinking about him. I don't want him. I'm sure you don't want him. There might be a couple pick-me's out there that would take him, but I'm not checking for him. But he is consistently trying to adjust the way that we are. And that just screams of insecurity to me. And I'm not having it. I just think that he is sad.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I know a lot of people get caught up in like, what's this whole month about? And really, it's really Pride that we celebrate. And it's Pride in various cities around the world, where one day in particular cities that it's all about. Pride Month is no different from any other ethnic group that we celebrate. Asian American, Pacific Islander gets a month. Hispanic Heritage Month gets their month. African Black History Month gets a month too. I could probably go on and on with the different months that get to celebrate their month. Yeah. Ours just happens to be a little bit more loud and proud and culminate in New York and San Francisco with Pride, but it's no different from any of these other communities that get their month. It seems to strike a chord with so many people. And it's like, I think it really just has to do with the fact that we're in an election year and silly 20-year-olds like these people have to not even enjoy their personal life.
40.
Who look 40, who have to put it out there on social media to gripe about it or think that they're getting one up because they think that their base is really going to fall in line and they're going to rile up because they really feel that their oath is to Donald Trump. And it's like, I would be a little like pissed off if I blurred the lines between my should be an amazing moment that's personal with trying to take jabs at other communities and gay men at that. Like, it's like, it's just dumb. Malibu, of course, we are live. Malibu says, I'd probably take him. Just a joke. I love
Malibu. That. You would not. You definitely would not.
Yeah, thank you. Right. Rethink that.
That was funny, though.
Just a little bit closer. Yeah, exactly. So somebody, though, that actually really was somebody that we want to, honor here, not honor, but had a different response. There was a straight man in Weho Pride recently. He stumbled across Weho Pride. He's Australian, and it went viral in the best way possible. It's now emerged that the man in question is known down under for his time on The Bachelorette Australia. And when Chris Stanley, so his name is Chris Stanley, he attended the Weho Pride Parade on June 2nd and filmed himself conducting, many different things attending it. When he was asked, though, by a media reporter, a gay reporter on site, like, what are you doing here? He said, I just stumbled across this. And the reporter said, well, how do you feel about this? He says, I think it's great. I love everything I'm seeing. He had just a really honest, and you saw the video, really real. He's, first of all, adorable. We might say too, sexy, tall, nice drink of water. And when the reporter asked him, what do you think about when gay guys flirt with you or come on to you? And he said, I think it's amazing, because he says his attitude was so positive. He said, essentially, I think it's great because if they like me, then I know I'm doing something right. And it's harmless. And I just think everybody should be hip. That's the attitude you should have. Of course, he's from Australia and not like this Addison guy who's from America. Sorry. And, they just raise them different sometimes overseas. What did you think of this?
It's true. Well, I love this man. This is the type of man that I want. Not him specifically, because he's got a wife and a kid, and I respect marital boundaries. But if he's got a gay brother, tell him to call me. I am single-ish. Anyway, so
single-ish. I like that.
This aura is just of security. It's a masculinity. He is completely comfortable in his own skin. And I think it's amazing. He got so excited about being asked about being attractive to other people. He took the microphone out of the interviewer's hand.
A no-no for most reporters. Just think of Wendy Williams. But in this case, we would give him a pass. A hall pass.
I would have given him the mic. Actually,
yeah.
Oh, we giving him hall passes too? Wait a minute now.
I mean, he's that cute, but I agree. That was a hilarious
Maybe they
moment.
have an arrangement, but he is just so comfortable in his skin. It just reeks of security, and he was just happy to be that somebody found him attractive. And that
good choice of word. Reeks of security. Exactly. I love that.
Because we're not trying to change him. We're just trying to, admire him, and maybe even, just give him a little boost of ego. That's all it is. The right wingers like Addison, they're trying to change us. We're not trying to change anybody out here.
Exactly. Well, it was like the singer that we were talking about the other day, who's Queen singer that we were just talking about. That
Adam Lambert.
Adam Lambert, that essentially said, if you're not into what we're talking about or our month, just ignore us. No one's forcing you to ingest what we're celebrating. Just ignore us. He happened to stumble, this guy from Australia happened to stumble across Weho Pride, but was like, hey, what festival is this? I'll take it in. Nice. No one's harming anybody. It's all love. And he was here for it. And when pressed to it, what would you do if people were flirting with you, gays were flirting with you? He said, I'd take it. It would be flattering. And exactly. That's the attitude to have. Somebody else we have admiration for, especially as they head to Paris Olympics this year, is Olympian Campbell Harrison and his boyfriend, who are essentially just too hot for homophobes to handle. The champion climber, you heard me right, climber, essentially will compete at Paris Olympics and took on the haters after a Pride Month post went viral. As Outsports reported, the official account on Instagram shared 10 pics of Campbell and his boyfriend Justin embracing each other, and the post is titled "A Kiss Is Worth Celebrating." Well, as many really celebrated it, there were some that obviously didn't like it and said, what does this have to do with sports? And I say it has to do with everything, Kodi, because the Olympics in general are more than just sports. They're about bringing nations together to compete, to show camaraderie, to show that sport is through cultural differences, through war times, through many different things, can actually come together to compete in peaceful harmony. And I've been to the Olympics in '84 in LA, and at one point thought I was going to try and go for the Olympics as a gymnast, and didn't make it there, got, partial scholarship to UC Berkeley, but I knew a little bit about that road. I did, Kodi, the little known fact, get to competing to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado. Santa Fe
Oh, get it, bitch.
Springs for a week. Yeah, we competed and I won a spot to go to the Olympic Training Center, which was in Santa Fe Springs, which has a high altitude. And from
Okay.
California, we weren't used to that. So they had us working our butts off, but the altitude really was affecting our lungs. And we had to, I mean, it made it stronger, but it was really intense. But I mean, when you hear what these guys are doing and not caring, and especially people, they're essentially saying many of these homophobes probably never competed for anything in their life, and yet they have something to say. That's what they
The
said.
read
Yeah,
from the Olympics. Oh my
come on
goodness.
now, don't come for an
I live.
Olympian. Yeah, what do
I
you think?
mean, here we go. I love it. I just love this type of allyship and representation because it's what we need, especially from corporations and organizations out there that just aren't afraid to show that they are supportive of LGBTQ plus people. I think this is amazing. Um, the couple is so adorable. I forgot what they were for 2 seconds. And it just goes to show you that even though people are hating on everybody right now, and especially the
Yeah.
LGBTQ plus community, it doesn't take much to stand on the side of right and really just show everybody that we are love at the end of the day, and we are out here just trying to live our lives authentically. I just can't stress that enough, especially during Pride Month.
Yeah, and for anyone questioning what does sport have to do with seeing these guys embrace, I mean, we were talking in our meeting, Tom Daly, who's British, who's with Dustin Lance Black, and they've been together. They have kids now, and they are also, Tom Daly posts thirst traps all the time. I think it's a really good era now because before social media, and a lot of people have a whole thing against social media, but it's nice to see these Olympians get their due time beyond just when they go to the Olympics. Like, this is creating a lot of excitement for the Olympics. And like I said before, the Olympics is really that one time peaceful time when we can see nations come together and really in solidarity. And it's just one of our great things that I hope we never lose, especially in these times. It's really important. I'm really looking forward to this year's
Yeah.
Olympics. I'm going to be watching a lot of it, and I just think it's wonderful. And to see our LGBTQ community represented now in the Olympics openly and proud is a beautiful sight. I'll never forget in '84 when Greg Louganis wasn't
Yep.
out, and then later it came out as HIV positive, and it was this whole like, oh my gosh, it was the Reagan era, and many know that Reagan did nothing to help
Yeah.
us out with the HIV epidemic. And it's like, I'm sure he's sitting proud knowing that, wow, what a great time to be in the Olympics and to have so much support, even with so much haters also online. But I think we will triumph over it.
Yeah,
And
I totally agree with you. And I think that Greg Louganis is out there saying, look at what my contribution has afforded the world, really, because he
absolutely.
really did start up that conversation of LGBTQ plus people being in sports. And a point that you made earlier about uh, having this kind of representation in the media, I wonder personally if these haters out here would have an issue with a straight couple being represented in this way. And I feel like they would not. So what does it have to do with sports? It has to do with the people that are playing the sports. And if this was a straight couple, you wouldn't have an issue. So you need to examine that and really come to terms with why you have an issue with LGBTQ plus love being represented in this fashion.
It's the same, and not to get too into sports because we're not all of a sudden we're talking sports, but
And I know nothing about it, so
women's basketball, it's the same thing, how they're not getting much is paid as much as their counterparts, and yet it's probably because of less media coverage. And who's the one person that got the most out of the women was a white woman, which is great. She's awesome, but it's like there's other like African American players that are equally talented that are not getting the same recognition. Anyway, we won't go down that, but Bryce watching us live says we call those couch Olympians, folks that show once every 4 years as sports experts. Oh, wow. Okay.
That's me. I'm one of those too,
that's
but I
me.
don't have anything hateration to say.
Yeah. I mean, I watch the gymnastics for sure, but I am a former gymnast and used to go to, when I wasn't a gymnast, I did it from 5 years old till 23. And I also went to meets galore throughout the years. I went to the Olympics too. So I'm not a couch Olympian. A little bit more than that, but yeah, I got a little
all I can do is
there.
swim. Yeah, you good.
And
all
you're
I can
a
do is
swimmer.
swim.
Yeah.
I am.
It's exciting. I'm super excited about this. And I like how we're going to segue from Pride into the Olympics. And it's going to be exciting. So,
yeah, it's going to be great.
Let's talk about Cher, because Cher admitted being obsessed with gay men since she was 9. And Kodi, this is a kind of exciting because recently the Abbey just got a new owner, somebody that's been a guest on our show. And I'm talking about Tristan Shoecraft. If you know anything about Tristan, he is the owner or the CEO of Mr. We had him on our show, I believe, a year ago, when Mr. was really getting off the ground, maybe a little bit longer. And he was really telling him Mr. is the online PrEP program that if you don't have insurance, or if you have insurance, you could go online and you could swab and prick yourself to get on PrEP. And it makes it very easy, especially in rural communities where it might be a little bit harder to get on something like a PrEP. And so, or Truvada is what we're talking about. And anyways, over recently, when he took on the reins of it and essentially reopened the Abbey, people like Ricky Martin showed up, but also Cher did. And this happened last week. She was a surprise guest, and she had a message as she gave a speech. She said, "The first gay guys I ever met, I was 9 years old," she said, at the event for the Abbey's new owner, who brought the bar from David Cooley last year. And the video was posted online. And she said, "I walked into my house and there were these 2 guys there, and they started talking to my mom and my mom's best friend. And I was thinking, where have they been hiding these guys? I'm 9, but I thought, wait a minute, why aren't the other guys as funny as these guys?" It was really love at first sight. And she also shouted out to her LGBTQ fans. She said, "One thing I have to say that is serious, that is from the heart, is that I've had really ups and downs in my career. I mean, really. And you guys never let me," she said, "so never left me. So thank you." And she had entered the bar singing "Song for the Lonely." Nice.
I love that song.
This is a song for the lonely. We have always been, that's the thing about us gay men, is we're loyal fans. One of my longtime family friends who's gay that I grew up with always said Steve Rodriguez is the most loyal fan of, I mean, from Madonna to Janet to Vanessa to Sade to Lisa to Kodi. Once I am a fan, I'm a fan for life. And we are, that is, I also think our community too is like, we're loyal fans. And I think that's why we're hearing a lot from the likes of Cher, Madonna, and a lot of these, that they're just like, they feel the love. I mean, I think it's really good. What do you think when what Cher said?
I love Cher. I think she's amazing. I think that this should be a lesson to all of those people out there that have an issue with drag queen story hour. If your children have contact with drag queens, they could grow up to be Cher. That is what the lessons is here. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that Cher is doing the right thing. She's always been such a great ally to the community. So this is not shocking to me. This is not surprising. It's just something to bolster us and really let us know that we are loved by Cher, and she's mother. She's the actual mother.
She really is. I mean, Cher is love, life, and keeps on going. And we just adore her for that. It reminds me a little bit of, on the flight over from GFK to SFO, I was reading this book that I just Sapphire Dawn that came out yesterday, and my
Oh,
interview with Christopher Rice comes out next Tuesday on episode 579. And really love this book. It's going to be your summer read, a little preview on that. But I had like 90 minutes to go on the flight, and I watched the Lil Nas X documentary, which
ooh,
is really, Long Live Montero is what it's called. And you
yeah.
let me
Thumbs up
know that it's
from the computer.
available. It's available on Max, as you told us earlier, or on JetBlue, which is what I fly. It was so good, and why I'm relating it to Cher is in that, Lil Nas X really didn't set out to be this gay superstar pop singer rapper, and you learn a lot about it. I'll let you watch it, but essentially there's times when his family, he says, weren't like the most supportive, and he still thinks about them. And it took this last tour, the Long Live Montero tour, where he learned more about himself. Remember, he's not that old,
Yeah.
and he learned that through one of his managers to just be. He learned from his dancers that are so free and open about their sexuality to actually encourage him to open up about his sexuality. And as a Black man, he said he wasn't even sure he was going to go down that road. He was going to tone that part of his side and his career down, but it was encouragement from the dancers, from his creative director,
Hmm.
to no, put it out there, from style, from fashion to the music videos. And he really lays a lot out. I really highly recommend this. But it's just interesting that in 2024 you're hearing a newer pop star say that they're still thinking about how much to show, and is it going to be too much to show to my audience? And then to hear Cher back in the day at 9 years old to say, no, it was these two guys that were out there and proud, essentially. And I can almost imagine who these guys were from a personality standpoint
Oh
that
yeah,
made her love
definitely.
them. Yeah, they were ladies,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure. Ladies love the ladies, like you and I can be
Yeah.
at times too. And it's like,
Right.
yeah,
That's why we're so engaging, because we have that in us as well. And I feel like a lot of gay men have that in them. And I think that Little Nas X coming out and really expressing who he is, we're all better for it. I think that
yeah.
he has inspired a huge community, and I feel like he has really made his mark and made sure that people are felt loved and they feel like they can go out there and be who they are. So I applause to both Cher and Little Nas X.
Absolutely. Okay, well, a couple of things. We just wanted to shout out because over the last couple of days, there were some drag queens that marched their way to Congress, actually got meetings with the right and the left. And if you ever had any questions about drag queens, there are a couple of drag queens that are doing the hard work on Capitol Hill. I'm talking about Jiggy Caliente, Bridget Bandit, and Joey J, who visited DC with the assistance of the progressive advocacy group Move On Political Action. And it was part of a drag lobby day initiative. What did they actually talk about? Well, I'm going to tell you. Things like the Equality Act, passing that on, transgender Bill of Rights, accessible health care, gender affirmative care, gun violence, bodily autonomy, drag bans, abortion, police brutality, Black Lives Matter, genocide, minimum wage, hypocrisy. I mean, these are the drag queens that are doing the hard fight. Of course, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene had to said men dressing up like women are feeding our children and trying to infiltrate. And anyway, I don't even have to get into it. You know where she
Please
came
don't.
from. But let's focus on the power of a drag queen in Congress and what they did really for us.
Oh, I first of all, let's talk about the positive aspects of this, because I love when queens are at the Capitol standing for change. I'm
Yeah.
so glad that Jiggly and Bridget and Joey J all really showed what initiative and bravery really means. I feel like that is something that is a core component in a drag queen. It's like when you build them, you have to put initiative and you have to put bravery in there as well, because they are all out there doing the damn thing and just trying to change the world in the most positive way. So and so, you know what, something else that made my heart smile with this was that when they went to the Capitol, they didn't just advocate for LGBTQ plus issues. They did it for humanity, basically. They did it for Black Lives Matter. They did it for abortion rights. And I think that is so admirable. And it makes me feel like they are superheroes. Some superheroes don't wear capes, they wear dresses. And these are those superheroes right there. So I really love them and thank them for fighting the good fight out there. More people need to learn from drag queens about how to be effective in the world and for change.
Yeah, and in an election year where it couldn't be more super important this particular year, especially maybe, are we going to make a change in this time frame? Well, we stand to lose a lot when Donald Trump has already said that he's going to take away certain things for our community. He's already said that in speeches. But more importantly, there's a lot of people, and this was what, and we will get off our soapbox in a minute, is that there are a lot of people out there that just think that the two candidates aren't worth voting for at all. They're too old and decrepit, and they don't like either one of them. So they're either not going to vote, or they're going to write in a candidate, or they're going to vote for a candidate that really doesn't have enough votes and will never get elected at all. And to what I say to that is, you know what? We just need to get through these next 4 years. And if you do that, you are essentially giving your rights away to anything that a lot of our rights are up for debate and are going to be taken away immediately. Why? Because he actually says that in his current speeches. So believe him when he says he's going to take away a lot of our rights. He will do that. And I think what they're doing is really important because it's really more for those that may be on the fence. They're being proactive and doing something positive. Do something is what my boyfriend often says. I love that statement. Do something. Just do something. And for those that just want to sit on the sidelines or say, well, I'm not voting or doing this, it's like, fuck you. That's not an option. You got to do something. So, and yes, yeah.
Hi, Durant.
Hi,
so
Durant.
I see what your point is, and I totally agree with you. One candidate is not as good as the other candidate, especially for the freedoms of all people. So it should be a clear choice. However, I do understand when people say that neither candidate is a really viable candidate. So I kind of get that, but one is clearly better than the other. And I just want to
and that's what I was saying. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, no. Oh, I get what you're saying, but I don't want people to feel like we are trying to preach down to them, because we understand where they're coming from. But I feel like a lot of people should let that go and work from the inside to change how these candidates are brought about to the forefront, to be voted for president, actually. So also, can we talk a little about Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because I think
quickly,
what is it? Bad built bitch.
Quickly, because we got a lot of things to get to. Do we really
but I just have to say,
say it quickly.
She's horrible. 6B is horrible, and she has an issue with the queens. But you know who didn't have an issue with the queens was Jasmine Crockett, who is fantastic. And I just want everybody to know that Jasmine Crockett loved the queens and she welcomed them with open arms. And 6B had so many horrible things to say. So
I love it. Okay, we've got to get 3 more things in the next 15 minutes, and I think we can do it. Recently,
we can do it.
A guy said my Sniffies hookup rejected me for not looking like my pics. Did I do something wrong? He wrote into a popular site where he's asking for advice, and he recently said, I recently had a humiliating thing happen to me. I met a guy on Sniffies. We chatted for a bit, exchanged some pics, and I invited him over. When he showed up at my door, he took one look at me and immediately got really upset. He accused me of catfishing him and said I sent him fake pictures, even saying it's guys like me who ruined the abs. full disclosure, the pics of the guy that he sent over were about 8 or 9 years old. And before the guy, Kodi, could actually get out the door, he was already calling an Uber, and on the apps already, the guy could see he was already looking for his next conquest. Because, I mean, in a way, I don't really have a lot of sympathy for the guy too much, for two reasons. And let me state my case. One is I don't have a lot of sympathy because I don't do the apps that much. I've said that ad nauseum on this show. And I said how I met my boyfriend. It was in person. And it's essentially how I meet most people. I connect with people in person. Number two is I really think if you are going to do the apps, you got to have, it's like acting. And that's what I'll relate it to. That's what I can relate to. Back in the day, I couldn't show up for a casting and have a 8-year-old headshot of myself and then look at me, and then they look up at me and look down at and look up at me and like, this may have been you at one point in time, but child, you don't look anything like this anymore. And it's like, it's the same thing with the apps. You're casting for a good hot hookup. They can't look down, look up, look down, look up and be like, I think I could see the resemblance of you at one time, and think that, you know, you got to be real. Just you got to put the real you out, put the best you out in those pictures, but put, I mean, at least within the last year. What do you say?
Oh, I completely agree with you. I think that this person, it's really, I understand where they're coming from, but it's really, you have to put yourself out there as you are. Otherwise, something like this can transpire. At the end of the day, they misrepresented themselves, and you have to, you know, put out there what you, as you are right now. This is not memory lane. I'm not Minnie Riperton. I do not want to see you back in the day. We're not going through the photo book. There's none of that happening right now. So I think that you have to go there.
Let's face it, when you're doing the apps and you're doing things like Sniffies, Grinder, Scruff, all you have to go by is pictures. No voice, no personality, no body language, all you are going by is a torso, a dick, an ass, and they better look pretty close to what's on that page. It goes back to casting too. It's casting. Like
that analogy was really good.
We wanted this guy on this headshot here,
and we got his father.
You are not him. You could play his father, but I mean, it's just reality. Come on,
it really, really is. And I've had times when there was one time during the pandemic, okay? I used a picture
at band camp.
It was just one time at band camp, exactly. And I used a picture that was prior to the pandemic. And you know, everybody during the pandemic, you gained a couple pounds, honestly.
Oh, yeah. So it was like that freshman 10.
Exactly.
Or maybe 20.
And no, ma'am, not 20. It was like 5.5, actually.
Okay.
So I went to this hookup during the pandemic. We were both vaccinated. We went through all the things. I don't need to hear any of that. So
please don't write to Kodi.
I know, please don't. And I went over there, and he saw me as I am, and I had gained a couple pounds, and I feel like he didn't really represent himself in the best light either.
By the way, did he like gain a couple pounds or like 15
I think he
pounds?
did. That's probably just like 6, more than me. Whatever it was more than me.
Of course, darling.
So we both mutually decided, maybe it was a little more him, but because I was down, I'm always down. To not go forward.
I mean, a hole's a hole, right? I mean, come on.
Right, girl. I'd be like, most of the time, I just bend them over and don't even look at them.
In that Desperate Housewives moment. In that Desperate Housewives moment. Come on.
Yeah. No, I get it. But he was adamant about not really hooking up with me. I feel like maybe it was something that he didn't expect. All of this man lusciousness. And so I obliged. I didn't really want to hook up with him either. Again, I would have done it at the end of the day.
I don't know what people are thinking. I mean, back in the few times that I have done an app, or 9 times out of 10, they really, I don't know what they thought they were putting on the phone when they opened the door. And there's been a couple times where I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling it. And I'm just like, but I'm honest and real. And it's just like, it wasn't whatever. It's just like, that's why I just stopped doing that, because I don't like those awkward moments. They're too awkward for me. And
Yeah.
that's why there are plenty of places where we live in New York City where I could meet somebody in person and I can just be like, yeah, no. I mean, I can tell enough from what I'm seeing in front of me where I don't have to go through that awkward moment knocking on some door and they open it up and I'm like, you don't look like your headshot. I'm sorry. Or sorry,
Yeah.
well, not an acting moment, but yeah.
Don't call us, we'll call you. But
Bryce watching us live says, why are gay men so concerned with weight? It's not a personal preference, but a judgment. You know, it's interesting that you say this, because I was talking to a friend of mine, a newer friend of mine that I met on my holiday, and she calls herself a gay man stuck in a woman's body. And I love her dearly. And she says she struggles with weight. She gets that we all, as gay men, have that same construct where many of us, I'm not going to speak for all of us, but we're
Mhm.
always looking at our weight. It's just been through society, through gay society. She's a woman, but she also gets it too, because women do this on themselves too. Magazines and culture have told women that you got to look a certain size, and gay culture has told us. So we're all suffering a little bit from PTSD from what's been put out there on how we have to look. So that's the short answer of that. But
Yeah. If I
you
can
could
add
join
just a
our
little thing.
Patreon page and we can have a longer discussion by going to patreon.com/TAGSPodcast, and then we could break it down.
That's right. Okay, so I'll save mine I'll write it down after the show, and then I'll save my comments for then. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get on to some advice before we get into straight up gay porn. And this was really crazy to me. I'm going to try. It was really a long one. It came through Reddit and it was titled as HIV and relationship advice. My husband, who's 33, and I, who's 34, have been together for 6 years, married for 4. We've made a nice life together overall. The last couple of years have been difficult. I had to overcome some brain damage resulting in memory loss. And there were a couple stints of opening up the relationship that never panned out well for us. Fast forward to about 6 weeks ago, my husband didn't tell me his previous friends with benefit and him had been sending explicit messages and insisted on opening the relationship up on occasion, such as me going out of town 2 weeks ago. I expressed my apprehension. Essentially, he went on to say that he said, "You're not on PrEP." And his husband said, "Well, he's safe." Well, essentially, the past week, my husband got sick. So he got tested, gonorrhea, and a preliminary HIV positive result that will receive final results next week. I can't stop thinking about it, and told him how hurt about all of this. And so he's essentially saying, what are our thoughts on this? Because somebody went out of the relationship and essentially got HIV. I just think, if they were going to open it up, why didn't they talk about, they're in their 30s? PrEP is on. If you watch Drag Race, if you watch PrEP and Truvada, there's ads for it everywhere. We just talked about Tristan, who is the CEO of Mister, where you could get it anonymously online. Why would you
Yeah.
put yourself first and foremost and your relationship in jeopardy like that? And then now he's potentially positive, Kodi.
This is wild to me. I cannot imagine or fathom how somebody could put themselves at such risk
Yeah.
when there is so many ways to protect yourself out there in the world. So my heart goes out to this person. I really think that they should evaluate why they allowed their partner to put them in this position, because I feel like they're complicit in this as well, because they, like you said, they should have had a discussion about PrEP and protecting yourselves and protecting the relationship. Really, it doesn't
Right.
even sound to me like this person wanted to open the relationship. So there's a lot of issues here, and I feel
Yeah,
like they
but
should
now it's
really dig in.
becoming potentially life. I mean, fortunately, we know what we know today. You equals you. You can get
Yeah,
on medication, thank goodness. But it's not something that when it's preventable, that you should have really ever allowed
exactly.
happened. And thank goodness they're at a time and a place where, it's not the end of the world. but it was kind of unnecessary, if you will, because of lack of
Super.
communication. And that's one thing we talk about on the show all the time is lack thereof of communication. As painful as it is, I also feel like you're right. This guy had no problem writing paragraphs after paragraphs on Reddit to get our advice, ours, everybody's. But where was his
Mine specifically.
conversations, his deep conversations with his partner? And I would just think that if you can tell all of this to us, where is you need to work on the deepness and the connectiveness of your relationship. That's the kind of relationship I would want, to be able to be honest like that about all these things, not going to Reddit.
Yeah. It's just sad. And I think that the person that wrote in the Reddit thread said that he wasn't worried about it because he was being monogamous with his partner. But he didn't think about my line of thinking is, what is my partner doing? Because whoever he sleeps with, I'm also sleeping with. So that is something that people need to put into perspective as well.
Especially when you're dealing with open relationships. Absolutely. You're 100% right. And we wish them well, though.
Yeah,
And
we
thank
definitely do.
goodness
My
it's
heart goes
not a
out to
death.
them.
Yeah, exactly. Bryce watching us says that gentleman should take the Western blot test. It's immediately positive or negative, and a preliminary positive type test can still be a negative. Yeah, it sounds like they're in the middle of it and finding the actual results, but we'll see where that goes. Well, lastly, we couldn't end, and especially it's kind of cool on Pride Week here in San Francisco and New York, that straight up gay porn, the thirst trap that we love and know, has their best of 2024 so far. And I
Ooh.
put for those of you watching live, I put the link in there for you to look through. Oh my gosh, the one that's like staring us in the face as we look at him, like right then and there, who I think was last year's winner. Am I right? Is that why he's there with his feet in the air like that?
Who is
But
it? Oh,
yeah,
last year's winner.
last
Yes, it looks
year's
like
winner.
he is.
Yeah. So
Ooh, he's
essentially,
sexy.
it's straight up gay porn does Thirst Trap, where who took the best photo of gay porn stars. And we're in the middle point right now. And they want us to vote on who we think could be the potential Thirst Trap king at the end of the year. Lock Rios, as seen above, is the reigning king of 2023. Well deserved, I think. And so these are going to be like some of the best photos you're going to see. I mean, ever really. But one of these
Right.
can only be the halfway midpoint point. So we ask you, it's our job on an audio podcast, because this show gets repackaged, to vividly describe why we picked the one that we pick as the winner. And we've seen a lot of these picks, Kodi, over the year so far, and they're all really amazing. I mean, starting with Lucas Morin, who was the winner of February 2024, who has the thickest cock ever and taking a dildo up his ass, is kind of hot to me. But I mean, we could go on and on for Drake Manson, who is March 30th winner with a very thick cock. I mean, they're all like delicious, on and
Yeah.
on and on. Swirly won April 27th, who has a third leg, I must say. I think mine is going to have to be, I'm kind of like verklempt at all of these. But if I had to pick, it's between Raphael James, who won June 8th, and Paul Victor Melo, who won June 1st. And drum roll, please, who do I pick out of those two? Oh my gosh. Raphael James is my pick, because he just seems so effortless with his thick body and his sleeve tattoos. He's apparently into weed, because on his left, where, what do you call that, hip flexor, he's got a weed thing. He's got a
Ah.
very thick cock and a nice vein in his cock, I might add, and a very thick head. And he's got like this hair that I saw on the beach last week that my friend and I were calling H&M. They look like they shopped at H&M and they were of a certain age, like 20. And he's just got this shaggy hair, which normally I don't like, but works on this guy. So my vote goes to Raphael James. I will post this on TAGSPodcast.com, reference episode 578. Make your pick too. I'm going to vote for him right now. Kodi, who is your pick?
So, like you, I was stuck between two people, and Hazel Hoffman, who I think is the first option, and then King Marcellus, who won
Oh.
on April 13th. So, my final decision will be King
Final
Marcellus.
answer.
Final answer. And I think maybe I was stuck between the two of them because they were both on For the Love of Dill. So maybe I'm really familiar with their faces. And now I'm more familiar with their dicks. So this is even better. King Marcellus is leaning back on a chaise lounge, completely naked. Maybe I like him because he has those pearls around his neck. Sometimes I wear those pearls. So I think he looks absolutely gorgeous. He's completely naked with his rock hard cock. Flat against his torso, and he's looking straight into the camera like, come and suck this big dick. And also I went to his Twitter page, and him and his boyfriend Barry Bartlett,
Saying wrap it up over here.
they have some hot stuff, and he's a bottom, and he takes a amazing dick. So that's why I feel like I love him so much. So thank you, King Marcellus.
Doug says Oliver Marks as his pick. Bryce says Paul Victor Melo and Raphael James. Okay, I hear you. I see you. Oh my goodness. We want to thank our virtual audience, Duran Diego, all in there, and many of you watching us live. Thank you so much. Happy Pride, everybody. It's really exciting
Happy
this week.
Pride.
Oh my gosh, I'm feeling it. The vibes are here. You can always follow my co-host. He's a life coach. Follow him on Instagram at KMD Coaching. Follow his personal account at Mr. Maurice. Don't forget to get his single entitled Talk About It wherever you get your music, and you can hear him sing it on our upcoming live stream when you grab a tier, our virgin or our sub tier, by supporting Tags, by getting special perks. Go to patreon.com/Tags Podcast. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V, or go to my X Twitter account at Tags Podcast, where you get a preview of my Just for Fans and Only Fans and Kodi on this Pride Week. In the meantime, continue having hot gay sex. Happy Pride, everybody.